chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' Crew.
What up, nerds? And welcome to another motherly episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 398, recorded Sunday, November 20th, 2022. Tonight we're talking about another Patreon pick. This was chosen by the one, the only Hydraberg. The movie is Aliens from 1986. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randuce. What's up?
Mostly.
How's it going, buddy? Welcome to the Aliens cast. I'm excited to get into this one.
Yeah. Let's get chest bursty up in this.
Dude, I mean, we have not covered any Aliens films. Am I correct in that?
No, we covered Alien, the original, and also
I
that
can't
last
remember
one
what we
that sucks
do.
that I can't even remember the name of it. Requiem.
What?
Yeah, the last one.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. I forget that that's included.
Yeah, the doo-doo one. We covered that thoroughly. So, yeah.
Covered the doo-doo.
This is number 3 for us so far. Last but not least, calling in from Saxonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy. Stop your grinning, drop your linen stains.
I never stop grinning. Never.
Do you ever drop
linen
your
or no?
linens?
What linen?
Free balling, eh?
This dude's not sanitary.
Those shorts are all streaked up.
They're non-existent is what they are.
Okay. Well,
Game
this is off
over,
to a great
man.
start.
Game over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
We're just gonna quote "Hips Don't Lie" all episode,
Dude.
aren't we?
He's a chatterbox in this fucking movie. Let's get to it, Bob.
Yes.
Keep the beat.
Yes, he is. All right, before we get into the main event, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. We do have our December poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get a chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this December. The theme for December is Christmas Redemption. We got 3 movies up there to vote on that we have reviewed in the past, but long, long ago. We'd like to have a second shot at these. The movies are Gremlins, Santa's Sleigh, and the original Black Christmas.
Whoa, Bob! How those numbers looking heading into the last week? Yeah, the last full week of November.
Yeah. Pretty much the same, man. Santa Sleigh's in last place. Gremlins has a respectable number of votes, and Black Christmas is definitely dominating.
All right, Black Christmas on top. It's been a while since we talked about that one. Ooh, that was like an OG episode.
Yeah, that was sub 50 easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like within the top 10.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
We definitely started things rolling around the Christmas time, and we just barreled through so many Christmas movies.
Let's just do them all.
Never thinking that we would still be doing this in 8 goddamn years.
Never. I would have laughed in your face if you said that. Like, hey, man, 8 years from now, you're still
You're
gonna be-
crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
Well, get your votes in before the end of November. We'll see what we're talking about this December. In other Patreon news, we got a brand new minicast dropping this Friday. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. We have over 80 on there now. This Friday, we're dropping a review on Resurrection. This was Juice talking about it.
Yeah, this is another really solid horror film from this year. It's definitely more of like is in the psychological realm. Rebecca Hall is in this film. It's about a mother and her daughter, and this kind of man from her past comes back into her life, Rebecca Hall's life, and she's kind of trying to protect her daughter from him and stuff like that. So it's really interesting, pretty wild, a little weird. So yeah, check that out. I think it's on Shudder right now, streaming.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so slam Resurrection into your eyeballs and check out our minicast dropping on Patreon this Friday. In other Patreon news, we do have a brand new Patreon supporter we got to give mad shouts outs to. A very giant, massive, jolly thank you to Bailey D for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. All the money you guys donate to us goes right back into the show. It truly does help us keep this train rolling. Thank you guys so much for doing that. As is tradition around these parts, we owe Bailey the straight chilling salute. This goes out to you, Bailey.
Slap my ass.
Oh, yeah.
Slap my ass, Bailey. Thank
Please
you.
slap the asses of all of us.
It's what we want for Christmas.
The AI of the future is going to make Soju say, slap my ass all the time, apparently, because they got lots of samples.
You just say it
The
already.
technology of the future is just going to slap our asses at will.
It's not.
They can just say it for anybody, though. I'm just saying, you know?
It's not artificial. It's real. It's real.
Man,
you
what
don't
is
know how
artificial,
technology works, okay? You just don't know what the future.
You're not Elon Musk.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Muse.
Damn, we got a lot of shit actually. So, Juice, you got a new YouTube video dropping, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. This is episode number deuce of Creature Comforts, my little spin-off show where we talk about horror-adjacent things. Me and Shaboy G Baby, an OG listener of the show and now host of his own podcast, Waxing the Porpoise. We were talking about old Batman Returns, dropping it the week of Thanksgiving since it is a Christmas film heading into the season, and a big one that came out, the height of Burton when he was dropping all his horror goodness. We talk about, the kind of some of those elements seeping into a Batman film. So yeah, that's dropping, or actually by the time you're listening to this, it is already out. It came out on Monday. So go
Starring
listen.
Mr. Ben Tramer.
Check it out. Creature Comforts on YouTube. Also this week, we're dropping a new commentary track over on Let's Get Physical Media.
Whoa.
Mikey and myself and a first-time guest, good friend of ours, Mike. We all did a commentary
Mike?
track. Yeah, the one, the
My
only.
boy Mike. Oh,
Boy, Mike.
man.
We do a commentary track on the classic Thanksgiving film, Son-in-Law. So
Yeah.
check
Ooh,
it
okay. We were hanging out with old Mike last night,
We
talking
were.
about how shitty Halloween Ends was,
yeah,
and munch on some grindage.
munch on the grindage. We may or may not consume moonshine. I don't know. You'll have to listen to find out.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That sounds like an utter shit show.
Yeah, so that's dropping this Tuesday. Actually, at the time of this episode's being released, it will already be available for you. Check that out over on Let's Get Physical Media, anywhere you get your podcasts. Also dropping that same Tuesday, this is November 22nd. The three of us were guests on Plug It Up. A friend of the show, Caitlin, invited us on her show, Plug It Up, to talk about an actual
What else?
fantastic Thanksgiving film, Blood Rage.
Yeah.
So that is also available for your sweet ear holes right now. Check that
Whoa.
out everywhere
Bob,
you get your podcasts.
speaking of Blood Rage,
Speaking of,
what? We had
We are
a very
speaking of-
successful show this past weekend at Sunrise Cinema where we got to introduce Blood Rage.
we did.
We got a winner.
Yeah, it was fantastic turnout, actually. Thanks to everybody that showed up for Blood Rage, whether you had seen it or not. Actually, it seems like most people in attendance had not seen Blood Rage. I asked at the beginning of the show, and like very few
Yeah.
hands went up. I was like pretty stoked that we got to truly introduce the movie to a lot of people. It was a great turnout. It seemed like it played really well for the audience. People were laughing and joking along throughout the course of the night.
Very interactive audience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to
Did
meet
they eat on the floor in honor of this?
yeah,
We all just sat and ate on the floor.
in front of our chairs.
legs agape.
Yabos popping.
That's how you snack, baby. Got to meet a lot of new people, shake some new hands. Thanks again for everybody that came out and showed some love and support to a Jacksonville movie and a Jacksonville podcast at the lovely Sunrise Cinema, a really great locally owned and operated art house theater. That Thanks, guys. Also, we do have some posters left over. Randy designed a fantastic Blood Rage poster. I believe
Dude,
it's
people were creaming themselves over that poster, Randy.
Yeah, it's a super limited run. If you do want one, hit us up, and we'll work out the details on that for you. Speaking of live events, we got another live event coming up in about a week and a half. It is Friday, December 2nd.
Oh, yeah.
We are doing a live show, a live recording for episode 400.
Shit.
Oh, my God.
And probably the most exciting detail about this is all three of us will be in attendance, live and in person, for the first time, literally in the history of this podcast. It's never happened before.
Never happened before.
Before. So mark
as
your
far as I know, we
calendars.
can't exist in the same room at the same time.
It's never been seen, ever. Mark your calendars. Friday, December 2nd at 7 o'clock. We're meeting at Rain Dogs in Jacksonville, Florida. We rented out the back room. We're going to have, a meet and greet situation to start, and then the actual recording for the live 400th episode is going to start at 8 o'clock. And we are going to have a mic set up for the audience for a bit of a Q&A session. So please come ready to ask some questions, and we will certainly answer them for you. And we look forward to seeing all y'all. Come hang out.
Hell yeah.
Have a good time.
Bring your Q's, we'll bring our A's.
Our gaping A's will be in attendance.
Wide gaping A's. Sure.
And I guess the last thing we have, if you are unable to come to Rain Dogs and hang out and ask us a question in person, feel free to send in your questions to us. We will answer those on episode 400 as well. You can just email your questions to us at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. That's all I got. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Nah, dog, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, I think that's plenty.
Woo,
Maybe
doggy.
we have a clean house here.
Yes.
His house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about aliens, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, I know you have this box. Do you have the whole Alien franchise collection?
There is a pretty dope box set. It's called the Alien Anthology, and it's not the entire franchise. It's just the first 4 movies.
Mostly.
Okay.
And it comes in a pretty nice box set. I will say, man, I got kind of fucked this week trying to watch Aliens.
Good for you, man. Sometimes it ain't all bad.
Sometimes life's alright. I put in my little baby blue into the player, and we're rolling along. Got about halfway into the movie, and then the disc just like froze, and it would not play past the halfway point. Like no matter what I did, I just couldn't get it to work. It's just a corrupted disc somehow or another. So I had to borrow Mikey's. Brother Mikey came through, and then I was able to finish watching it.
That's why physical media just is not reliable.
Dude, it's a very uncommon thing, but I was frustrated.
Common enough.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Common enough to not invest in blues.
But I do recommend picking up.
Put all your money in crypto.
I do recommend picking up this box set. It's pretty insane if you're into the Alien franchise. The amount of bonus features on this is fucking insane. So yeah, check it out. I think you can get it pretty cheap. I think I might have picked this up for like $20, and you get 4 movies plus all the bonus material. It's worth it.
Doubt it. That's not what my research has shown, Bob.
Totally.
I've done the math.
Aliens from 1986, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. This was directed by your boy James Cameron. Written by Cameron as well as David Giller and Walter Hill. Stars Sigourney Weaver, of course, Michael Bain, Carrie Henn, your boy Bill Paxton, Paul Reiser, Lance Henriksen. Just a murderer's row of people. Al Matthews. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. 57 years after surviving an apocalyptic attack aboard her space vessel by merciless space creatures, Officer Ripley awakens from hypersleep and tries to warn anyone who will listen about the predators. Really about the aliens, not about the predators, okay? Let's keep that straight. Jill Mings.
Oh, God, no!
had you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randu, why don't you kick us off?
Oh my, yes. I have seen this film. Not very much, though. I think I may have only seen it one time, as a matter of fact. And I do believe that was with the two of you some years ago. And just an errant, Tuesday night or something. Yes, I would recommend it. I would certainly recommend it if you liked Alien, for one. That seems pretty obvious. If you're into spacey horror or claustrophobic seeming horror, or even, and I would I know this is a pretty common thing, it's widely seen as much more action oriented. So if you like that combo, you're going to like this movie probably. It's a standout.
Awesome. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I had seen this before several times. I didn't see it until I was an adult, though. It might have been the first time when we watched it all together. I've seen it a couple times since then. But yeah, Alien, like the first one, is one of my kind of all-time favorite horror films, and I think this one does a really good job of like following that up. It is maybe a little bit more accessible, I guess, because it's got a lot more kind of comedy and has more action to it and stuff like that. And so, James Cameron directed it. But so I think a lot of different people can watch and enjoy this. A little on the long side, but I think this is one that you should definitely check out for sure. Bob, had you seen this before? Would you recommend people check it out?
Yeah, I'd seen this maybe 2 or 3 times before, and it's definitely, I would call this like, in the pantheon of like action films, this would be a classic. I think pretty much anybody would agree with that. I definitely recommend checking it out. If you dig action flicks, you're definitely going to get something out of this, or just sci-fi, or even horror. I think you're probably going to.
I mean, if you're an action fan, you have seen this, probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. If for some reason you haven't, you're really fucking up. So yeah, that sounds like a pretty solid recommendation across the board from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie.
Spoiler warning.
All right, Bob.
Yo.
This week, you do not have a plot synopsis. Thank God. Instead,
somebody came in with a clutch since you're lazy ass couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I took the week off. We're going to hear from you, boy. So this is Hyderberg's pick, like we said at the top of the show. If you are unaware, Hyderberg has his own podcast called A Cut Above. You should definitely check it out anywhere you get your podcasts. He is the plot synopsis man on his crew, but he does not just recite the synopsis. He writes a motherfucking poem that synopsizes the movies he calls his reach around, and that boy does give one hell of a reach around. So go ahead, Hyderberg, reach on us. Let's see what he's got for us.
Limerick me ditty.
Floating through space, a salvage team found a survivor of the Nostromo and the terrors that went down. No one aware what she saw in that place. For 57 years, she floated in space. Ellen, she managed to get out all alone, except for her cat known only as Jones. She told the tale of LV-426, a celestial dwarf, and how her whole crew was slaughtered by a xenomorph. A creature so deadly it struck from above, an apex predator with acid for blood. The corporation didn't believe her honesty, because they had already established a mining colony. When connection with the miners was severed and bent, to this planet of terrors our girl Ripley went, this time with a pack of the most badass Marines, who had searched and destroyed all that they'd seen. But the horror that awaited their minds couldn't dream. A vision of hope and Newt they did gleam, for Helen a surrogate daughter, a region to survive this onslaught of slaughter. Escape once again come hell or high water. Her life in synthetic hands she now placed, as a hugger attempts to latch onto her face. All part of Burke's evil plan, but for Ripley we stand. And if you would disagree, it's game over, man. So if epic fights with two queens is a scratch you must itch, I hope you enjoyed my cargo bay elevator pitch. And I leave you with these words, get away from her, you bitch.
All right.
Nice.
As always.
And all the high notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Working in xenomorph into that was particularly impressive. I was like, damn, all right.
It is. It's not an easy one to work into any limerick whatsoever.
Made it happen.
So going off of this is the first time they kind of name it the Xenomorph, and we've talked about Alien before. We reviewed Alien. Randy does not remember that, but we did.
Nope.
And in that we kind of talked about that they didn't. But I'm curious. Do you know? Do either of you know? I know this was kind of designed before Alien in a book. What's the artist's name? Geiger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did he name it? Do you know? Like, did he, in his ultimate design, did he kind of like name the creature and they just didn't name it in the original film? Or was this something that like James Cameron kind of came up with as a sequel part?
I could not tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob, you did trivia. What about you?
Yeah, I don't remember that specific detail. I want to say it was something that just came out of the ether and it wasn't part of H.R. Geiger's original like Bible or whatever he put together for the design work. I don't think. I could be wrong, man. I watched a whole ass documentary when we covered Aliens because there's so much history and like information to get out of this franchise. It's insane, man. I can't remember that specifically though. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is like a James Cameron invention or somebody that was working on this movie's invention.
I'm trying to look it up, but nothing so far.
Yeah. I like speaking of like different differences that happen between this movie and Alien, because like it's hard. It's hard to make a sequel, but especially it's hard to make a sequel of a movie like an outright classic like Alien, like a juggernaut like Alien. I got to respect James Cameron in the fact that he sort of tried to take it in his own direction and not just copy paste what Ridley Scott did with the original. He did his own like James Cameron spin on it and didn't go like fucking nuts and like recreate it and like, you know, do something crazy with Ripley or like try and take Ripley out of it. Like he keeps Ripley's character fairly consistent and like you can tell there's a lot of like love and respect for that character in this script as well. But he just takes it more in the action direction, whereas like the single alien and like lurking in the ship in the original builds a lot of tension, a la Jaws. And then this, it's so simple, but it works so well. It just, you know, aliens, you know, multiply it by 20 or whatever, and have 20 Marines hunt them down, and then it's just a fucking, you know, firefight in space.
You know what he does excellently is like to your point, is this movie, like, it does not start off at the fever pitch it winds up at. It really does feel like it continues the pacing and the structure that you would have found at the end of Alien. And that's kind of tough to do. And more than that, it's tough to do that to sell forward your new vision, which is a lot more action heavy. So he just takes his time ramping up to it. And I really appreciate that because like it seems so seamless to the, like, to me, like as somebody who hasn't seen either of these movies too often, like that they really take the time to pace things out with Ripley and with Paul Reiser. So, and you get, even once you get the Marines and they're doing their Marine thing, it's not so over the top. It's not the intro to every character in Top Gun. You know what I'm saying? You get a little bit of intro, but it's not like, you know, sweaty man fest or anything like that. It's just, it's a little bit more demure than that. And it eventually ramps up to them being like full-blooded action hero types after the red shirts get taken down. So I really just appreciate that. It's a tough needle to thread for sure.
It does, but to go off that, I will say, you know, I kind of mentioned it in my my opening, but this movie's too long. It's 2.5 hours long, and you know, Randy, kind of, you mentioned the pacing and how you appreciate it kind of blended well, and I do agree. It does feel like it kind of blends well. It does hit some of the notes. It feels like it has to hit, like, oh, let's show the chest burster right at the beginning, which I don't know, might be a little heavy-handed in my opinion, but this movie, once it starts going, like, you know, we really don't see like a xenomorph attack until like an hour 15, I think it is, right around like close to the kind of halfway mark. Yeah. And they have some good battle scenes in there. And then I was thinking this time around, it's been a few years since I've seen this, and I was thinking like, okay, it kicks off and then it goes, because this movie is definitely known as an action movie. But I was kind of surprised this time of how like stop and go it kind of was, even after that initial kind of burst where I thought it was going to kind of keep going. And I was a little disappointed about like, oh, we got to stop a couple more times to the point where this movie's 2.5 hours long. It's like, I feel like this could easily be cut down 20, maybe 30 minutes. How'd you guys feel about that?
But I don't, I'm a little split on it. I don't know that I have normally when I would complain about runtime, I have a clear vision about what you would cut, and I'm not totally sure what I would like him to cut from this. Like everything about there's very few scenes that seem frivolous to me. They all progress things forward. They all move things along, sometimes glacially, sometimes rapidly, but they all move things forward. And I don't think there's a whole lot that isn't paid off, at least nothing that comes to mind. So, I mean, yes and no. If I could think of something that maybe it's in moments, like they could just trim some silence here and there, but the silence is kind of part of it too. So I would, especially in the beginning portions, but really all throughout, anytime you get like quiet in this movie, it's accompanied with a sense of dread. So I kind of don't want to lose that.
I feel like some could be cut from the beginning, but I actually, though, where I felt the most fat this time around was, like I said, after that initial one kicks off, a few people get picked off and then they kind of go into a survival mode. They got to set up drones. They're testing the drones. They're in that whole area. Then she has a couple conversations because she confronts the company man one time, then they have to confront the company man again after he tries to betray them. They're also, looking at blueprints. They're setting up drones. Some aliens come at the drones, but it doesn't even really show you that. So they're watching just bullets deplete. And I'm like, this feels kind of fatty right here. I don't know. That area maybe felt a little full.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Justin in the fact that this movie, you feel the length, you feel the runtime of this movie. I don't, where the movie's going to end up because you've seen Alien, assumedly, and you're just sort of waiting for the shit to hit the fan. Ripley well enough. You get a decent sense of this Burke character who's not super interesting at the top, and then you eventually meet all the Marines, and that is interesting. The camaraderie between the Marines is pretty good, but I don't think it's enough to fully engage with an hour and 15 minutes, the first half of the movie. It does feel a little long in the tooth. I think just specifically because we know what we're in for, we're just kind of waiting for an hour to kind of get there. But I don't know exactly what would be removed, to your point, Randy. But it does you feel the length of it, I think.
I guess I can understand that point of view. To me, it's just I don't really I don't know. I'm okay with the amount of quiet and the in between times. I think those provide a nice contrast to the heavy action elements to me. That's what sells forward good action movie is you have to have contrast, unless you're going completely ballistic fucking Hardcore Henry or some of those movies where the whole selling point is just nonstop. This isn't a nonstop action kind of movie, and it shouldn't be, considering where its stock is coming from. This is coming from Alien franchise. So to me, it's nice to have those, and maybe they could trim a little bit, but I just don't see what exactly would make sense to trim.
Something this movie does that I like, that I feel like a lesser director would try and force to happen, is you've got Ripley and you've got this giant crew of Marines. With most of them are hunky dudes, not all of them, but I feel like most filmmakers would probably try and force some sort of love story into this with Ripley and somebody, and have that dude be murdered because it's an easy heartstring to pluck, but they don't force that shit in here. It wouldn't make sense for Ripley's character. She's very single-minded in the fact that we need to eradicate these aliens because they pose such a massive threat, and nobody's really taking her seriously. I like that they don't try that bullshit in this movie. That's a big check, a big plus, I think.
Dude, I totally agree.
Yeah, I like that switch, except the money, man. I feel like this movie is not as good at the world building as Alien is. I think it coasts a lot off of what Alien established. And it gets to what I do like the realism of what the grunt, once a bunch of people get picked off and they start actually listening to Ripley. I have to be careful to say Ripley though, because I accidentally said Ridley in our Alien cast like one time, and somebody left us like a terrible review because of it. I said it like one time through the whole like review, and somebody tore me a new asshole.
There was a couple people that listened to our Alien review and freaked the fuck out. There was one dude that was like, "You leave your fucking sex and politics out of my science fiction flick, you damn motherfucking millennials." It's like, dude, we're just talking about the fucking movie at hand. Like, we're not making shit up.
No, we made that up. All the political stuff, we invented that.
That's on us.
We invented that. The poop guys. The guys who make poop jokes on their spare time exclusively.
I have to be very careful. But anyways, I feel like the money man this time around, it gets to a point where it's a little unbelievable. I could understand him having that attitude before, the grunts get into the shit. But when he's directly in danger, when his life is on the line, and it seems like he might easily could not escape this situation, but he's still trying to plan to take, Ripley out of it with the.
This isn't Super Metroid juice.
Here we go.
Come on, bring on the negative reviews.
Yeah, but like him still trying to set Ripley up, I don't know. That's a harder pill to swallow for me. It's easier when it was an android from the first movie because it's programmed to do that. Yeah. But this guy whose ass is on the line, who's seen these military types just get shredded, and he's still plotting and scheming without even a way out.
I don't agree. I think that. Like Paul Wright, I think they pretty well set up why he continues doing this, and it's because Ripley explicitly tells him that she is going to sacrifice him on the pyre of all these people that have died. He's going to be held accountable because she's going to make damn sure of it. She told him that. Yeah. And so that's why he's continuing his scheme, especially with the added caveat that now I have to be the sole person to tell this story. And because like I'm a sleazy, ambitious motherfucker who got called out, but I'm in isolation and I can still come out on top. I can still be the top survivor of this and walk away with like millions of dollars to myself and whatever else. Like, I don't know. To me, it's like if you are an ambitious piece of shit who is being forced to choose between a lavish multi-million-dollar lifestyle or doing the right thing with a bunch of people who intend to take you to prison as soon as you get home, I think that's a pretty clear choice for him.
I think he's a great villain, honestly. I do kind of agree with Justin. I see where you're coming from, man. And that he's almost like too mustache twirly, he's a little too fucking evil. But I also kind of like that because he just like riles me up. Like everything he does, I'm just like, this motherfucker. He just closes the door in Ripley's face. He turns like the little teleprompter off when she's like waving her hands and like, God, like, and the little girl's in there with Newt's in there with her too, and this dude just doesn't give a fuck. He wants everybody to die. It's crazy.
I mean, that is a very Cameron villain in that like he's a company man. Like he's somebody with all the power who's like absolutely ruthless in what he wants. That what's interesting about him in this particular case is that he's not like, to me, he's not mustache twirly. He's just a cog in the machine, and he intends to become like the most necessary cog in the machine for this mission. Like, I don't know. It's a different feeling in some of his other movies, or an Alien, even like that seemed more like, I don't know, like the company was sort of off screen and like you said, like controlling this cyborg. But in this one, it's just like pure human ambition at play. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel like extraneously evil. It feels like right on point for the kind of villain that they need for this.
Something the character of Burke does like briefly posit that I wish they explored a little more through like conversations or whatever, is like, Ripley's so hell-bent on completely demolishing every alien that they come across. and he obviously wants to like take them back home to like analyze them and weaponize them and make money off of them essentially. But something he does say is like, what gives us the right to wipe them out? Like they're just like trying to survive and protect their young, much the same way like Ripley's trying to protect this little girl that she comes across. They're essentially doing the exact same thing. It's like, what gives us the right to wipe them out? And I'm like, that's an interesting thing to ponder, but they just sort of touch on it a bit, and then he just goes back to being like full motherfucking evil. Yeah.
I mean, I guess like to me, like that's an interesting question, but it's not one that's like like that's an easily answered one. It's like, well, we're us, and we intend to survive. Yeah. Like we're not going to lay down our arms and let these things plant fucking aliens in our chests. Like we're.
Well, I guess you could just take off.
Just go home.
You could just.
And that's true, but like the amount of like destruction that has happened, like the retribution of it all, like I don't know. I see your point though. It is an interesting like thing to touch on, but I guess like that is part of his manipulation. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I guess the whole thing too is you see. I guess you see everybody change their tone in a reasonable way, and even carrying off that first film, the way that some people handle this egg and this face hugger thing, and you should go into quarantine, but you might have like some ulterior motives. Well, in this one, it's got a little bit different spin on it, where the people are macho and we're going to take it down. There's no problem. It's their job anyways. They're not going to disobey orders, so they're not really taking her seriously and stuff like that. And then, they all get wiped out, and they see her perspective from her survival of the first film, and carrying that on. And everybody has the switch except for this guy who's not a robot. I think it's just hard to swallow, but we don't have to like keep going on that one. But.
You're right. Like it just doesn't. To me, it's like you don't have to be a robot to be a conniving, ruthless piece of shit manipulator. Yeah. Like that's
I guess
more
like the most important thing should be your life first. Like if they showed more,
he intends to survive.
If he lasted to the ship where ultimately the queen gets on or whatever, and then we start to see some of him scheming, then it makes more sense, at least, because then he feels safe and he feels like he's headed towards home. But to do it in the midst of this, like you have no idea how you're going to get out of here, like that just doesn't seem like the priority at the moment. But
I mean, if he's a true company man, here's one thing that I will say is like, if his goal is to walk away with these creatures, he releases the two they have in captivity. Like I was shocked. I thought I didn't remember that he did that. But if you're going to do that, like just release one maybe and let them break out naturally, because like, isn't that the whole thing? You want those things.
His intention was to have them like implant into the girls and like bring them back, I guess. But that didn't work out. I don't know. It's fucked up, man. Everything he does is so fucking evil. But I don't know. I also like something that like was bugging me initially is like Ripley could have just like stayed on the ship or stayed back like on the big station or what, and just like walked them through it and like didn't actually have to be there. She's not like, I mean, they're sending the Marines, let them go do the killing or whatever, and she could just share.
She just knows how the creatures operate.
Yeah, if I were Ripley, like fuck y'all, I am not going back. There's no goddamn way.
Well, and what he promises her too is not that great.
No, it's not.
So she's got a job and it's not great, and he kind of talks down to her a little bit, but his ultimate thing is like, I can make you a pilot again. It's not I'm gonna make you rich or I'm gonna set you up or anything. It's just like, I can get you a better job. It's like
yeah, but you gotta maybe die to get there. By the way, like you just wasted 57 years of your life. Like I'm peacing out. Like fuck y'all. I'm gonna go do some stuff. Personally.
Well, I was always wondering like if there I was wondering like if there was an unspoken motivation, which would be kind of different for Cameron, I think, but like the unspoken motivation of like wanting to eradicate those things. She's like the only person she knows left alive, like she came back to a world that's not hers anymore. So to some extent you could say like, she she's going back for vengeance and to make sure that those things don't come back into everyone else's life, because hers is already forfeit because of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There's an extended cut of this movie, which I don't know, you guys may have watched it or not, where when Ripley wakes up, she finds she had a daughter, and she finds out that her daughter passed away. Her little girl was 11 when she went into cryo, and then woke up.
That's the version I watched.
That's the version. Okay, so that is not.
Did you guys not watch that version?
No,
I watched theatrical version.
Same theatrical, yeah.
Okay, how long was yours? Maybe that's why mine was so long.
You got an extra 20 minutes, I think. I mean,
but
this
that makes sense.
The original cut is still 2 hours and 17 minutes. It's still long.
Yeah, it's not a short movie.
Okay. Well, then that changes my approach a little, because mine was 2.5 hours or 2:37 or something. And I did okay, well that makes it a little conflicted then too, because I did like that aspect when Rainey was talking about the setup of it. So yeah, in my version, they do say she's like, I need to get home to my daughter or whatever, and they're like, she just died 2 years earlier. She's 66, and because that gives a lot more weight to the whole Newt story. I feel like without that detail, Newt becomes a very trope type of thing, because you see it in Mad Max 2, Mad Max 1, Mad Max 2, Waterworld, these wild kids that are left behind that become the kind of anchor for soul of our main character and stuff like that. It feels a little tropey without her needing that kind of surrogate daughter aspect.
This movie did come out in 1986, though, to counteract that.
Mad Max 2 came out in early 80s.
I thought that was more 88. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think it's 82.
Anyway, maybe so, but I don't mind. I don't think that's tropey in a bad way. Having watched the version that we watched, I didn't there was a little bit of a disconnect for me when Newt at the end of the movie called her mommy. I was like, I guess that's talking about the mother versus mother, or the feminine nature of things or whatever. So I don't know, but it just seems sort of out of the blue. They never just because you have that kind of relationship with somebody doesn't mean you're going to call them she's a surrogate mom is not somebody you necessarily call mommy. Maybe it was I don't know. That really did if we had seen the parts that you're talking about, would have been okay, I from a narrative standpoint I can understand, but that's a little bit heavy handed maybe. I feel that if they just took that line out, I think it makes perfect sense for this person to feel protective of a child. I don't know, it's tropey, but it's very human to want to take care of a child left behind in this rough circumstances, a survivor child, and see yourself in them, and push to the limit what you're able to do to protect them specifically. I don't know. I don't see it as I don't know. It doesn't seem like something that needs trimming to me. If anything, I do like the aspects of her, them dwelling a little bit on her future being taken from her, basically Ripley. But I don't know. I didn't necessarily miss it either. It was implied enough for me. So
it does. It feels a little. I don't know that I'd call it a full on trope. Maybe it is. It feels a little thin in this movie specifically. I don't hate that it's there by any means, but I think it is just trying to kind of further that mother versus mother kind of instinct to protect the young, and they're really doing the same thing, who's really the bad guy here, and it feels a little bit thin in Ripley's case, because it's just this random person, this random little girl, and they're all trying to protect her, but specifically Ripley for sure.
It's a child. I don't know, man. If I was in that situation, it's very understandable to me.
Well, the aspect of her so I want to give one more negative, and then I'm going to stop kind of being negative, because I've been a lot negative. So I want to praise this film a little bit, but my negative aspect of just the child existing, I don't have a problem with her wanting to protect the child. That's not my problem. And it actually makes more sense when you find out her daughter died, and the last time she saw her when she was 11. That makes it work for me. I kind of mentioned this before. The fact that the child exists there in the first place is a point I made earlier of, I feel like Cameron's version does a lot or it's not as good at the world building aspect. I remember when we talked about Alien, we were like, wow, taking this kind of futuristic thing, even when you don't get all the technology locked down and computers and stuff like that. But the idea of these workers and having to go pick something up and like them arguing about their pay and worrying about that and stuff, it felt very grounded and real in an interesting sense, because it started to build and there's this company, you never see them and stuff like that. But in this one thing that really threw me off and kind of left like a little bit of that sour note for Newt to actually show up was that family just like driving around in the car, like heading toward the spaceship at the very beginning or whatever.
Maybe that was not in my cut.
Oh, it wasn't not.
I don't remember that either, man. Yeah,
Damn. Okay. So in my version, because they specifically say, yeah, they're terraforming it and there's families on there. And they actually show how the alien got like loose, I guess, or whatever. There's this just family and they've got one of those future cars and they're driving on this thing and the dad gets out. And it shows the old ship that we see from the first one, like the big ass one. They don't actually they don't show him going into it, but he comes back with a face hugger on his face. And the wife like gets him in the car like, oh God, we got to get him back to home or whatever. And I was like, ugh. So, okay, maybe all of my negatives are just from the
shit that was cut from the movie.
version that was cut, which would make sense.
That's so interesting. Okay. Yeah, they did make a point to mention that there were families there, but they just mentioned it. We didn't see that. We just came across Newt hiding in the ducts.
I got some driving and like say, I was like, what is this, a fucking Jetsons over here?
That seems like an entirely unnecessary addition to me. Yeah.
Okay. So that left kind of bit of a sour note for me. So to move past that and to praise the things, there's some amazing moments with the aliens themselves, and ultimately we get the queen, which is a fantastic design. In the first movie they had to leave it a lot in the shadows because they were working with this crazy suit and stuff, this dude in a suit. But this time, I particularly love the scene where the dude looks up in the vent and there's like a shit ton of them crawling straight towards him. Like, oh,
Kyle Reese shits his pants and
oh God. Oh my God. That shit. Woo. And when they come out of the walls, the way their tail twists and they're kind of hidden in the walls when the grunts all first go in that one big area. I love that too. And they're coming from the scenes. They're like, I don't know where they are. Fucking hips don't lie, Paxton, man. He's freaking out, dude.
He's all over the place.
Instant
in this movie.
meltdown, that motherfucker. Can't keep his shit together. The design of the queen is pretty dope too, and it's a nice addition to this sequel. Specifically, like the battle they have at the end where Ripley's in the loader, and they're like, it's like hand to hand combat with the fucking queen. Like that's pretty badass. Like that's some epic shit.
Yeah, man.
Definitely adds to like the classic nature. I do think that they think they leave the queen behind, and then her like popping back up is a little like it adds to I don't know the length of the movie. It just makes it feel like the psych out ending is kind of like, oh God, okay, come on.
It's real easy to like end up in a trap where you're trying to add one more glorious like badass battle scene and then just have it seem like extra length.
Yeah,
I don't think that battle feels that way to me. Like it's like long or not, it's like that scene is like blood pumpingly fucking awesome. Like the line, of course.
Get away from her, you bitch!
That's fucking incredible. And like it's I don't know, man. It's just a great action sequence that like obviously has took the world by storm. You know what I mean? It's just this I don't know, flashpoint moment in the movie. And if you hadn't hit that level of high, I feel like it could definitely be one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but trim it. Like, why do you need it? Narratively, why do you need it? You know?
Action. Just a badass action.
Exactly.
For sure.
Fortunately, it is worth the squeeze action-wise.
Yeah. And her going in and torching all the eggs and shit. That was
so
pretty badass,
great.
Yeah,
But see,
it's
that
good
could have been
because
the climax. Like
it could have been,
and then escaping. That's it. It could have
and
been
she even could have had if she got to that platform and the queen was there. You could have just kind of done it there, honestly, in some kind of way.
I guess it's like one way to make sure that they have that moment. Maybe it's to give that moment between her and Lance Henriksen, where it's like rediscovering like admiration or whatever. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse to do it that way. If it had failed, you know what I mean? I'm going on the presupposition that it wasn't as good as it actually was, and it ended up working out great because it's just a really fun experience at the end. I wouldn't trade it, But if it had been a little worse, I would have been like, I don't know, man, just make that moment happen when he comes around the corner and then they say a line to each other as they fly away. That's it. He doesn't have to get stabbed in the chest and save Newt. He's already saving Newt,
Ripley like shooting the alien out into space to ultimately defeat it is a little too like samey from Alien, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. But they do a lot. He does a lot in this film that I thought was samey. He does some things that twist and subvert your expectations, like, oh, this time the robot, he doesn't leave her and she does end up trusting them and stuff like that. But still, like, the businessman or the company wants the alien and they're going to try to smuggle it at all costs and then fucks everybody. I mean, that's the same, jettisoning out the alien at the very end is the same. It's just, this really is, it's like a good sequel, but I don't think it's as good as some sequels that I think there are definitely some iconic sequels that are better, because this really is like you take the original and you make it bigger. And that's what this one is.
Yeah.
It is. And the thing is, like, bigger isn't necessarily better from the original stock. They just do bigger well.
Yeah, they do. He
does a good job at making it bigger, but it's not a movie that demands that. It was just a movie that was successful, and if they're gonna make a sequel. He's just like done a great job at making a sequel palatable, which is harder than it sounds. And it's really weird because, like, this is James Cameron we're talking about. He's made a handful of, like, obviously great movies, but this is a dude that's like in fucking Avatar world and shit now. And I'm like, what happened here? What happened to this guy? I want to see more of this. It's so simple and like not too not overcomplicated. And it explains things without like naming them unobtainium and shit like that. Like it doesn't do like a lot. Like, you want to talk about tropey? This is a director that went from being applying tropes I would say, to just applying as many tropes as hard and as obviously as possible.
Now, hang on. There's some of that going on here, because even now, of course, I'm talking from my version, so I could be talking out my ass here, which is fine. But they have to explain terraforming. Oh, no, we're terraforming the planet, and there's these people on there, and they make the atmosphere like ours. I mean, that has this same kind of ring to, the motivations of what's going on, like explaining the motivations of what's going on in Avatar. I mean, they explain some stuff that's like not necessarily.
Terraforming is a thing. Like,
I know it is a thing. I've just been like the idea of like taking time to explain things that aren't necessarily necessary to explain.
I don't know. I think at this time, like, I don't know that was such a common concept to people.
No, I don't think it was.
I think they maybe could have shown and not told, but that's not the issue with unobtainium. The issue is that it sounds silly as fucking dumb. And it's like, when you just say, it's just a dude saying the dumbest words at you, it doesn't matter that it's helping explain the movie. It's just dumb words.
Yeah. Okay,
We're doing the earthification process to this here planet.
Right, yeah. If they had said called
breathing.
It said earthifying, it would have been the same problem.
Yeah.
But he doesn't call things. It's just like, we'll punch it up later. We'll just call it earthifying for now, and then they just never change it.
We'll punch it up.
Forgot to circle back to that bit.
Uh-oh.
Ran out of time. too busy making blue cat people.
Fucking hell. Something that I thought did work for this movie pretty well was there's like a couple little things that they do to help build tension throughout. One of them is they use that little like meter that shows where the aliens are at, and like obviously they're like camouflage or like they're coming up from above them, and they don't see them until it's fucking too late. But they're like they're right on us. We don't know what the fuck to do. It's like a great mechanism to use to build tension, and then also later on. When they blast like the cooling system for the nuclear reactor, and it's like a literal countdown, and I think it is like actually counting down in real time in the movie. Like
I think that's true.
Movie.
Yeah.
So like you
I remember hearing about that.
You feel the time slipping away in real time. You're like, oh my god, these people, are they gonna die? I don't know. Oh my god. I think it works.
Oh my god.
It adds,
oh my god.
Oh my god. It's like
I thought they were really gonna blow up. I thought that's how the movie was gonna end.
I think Ripley says something like
wow, what a downer, James.
They have like 19 minutes to get Newt out of there or something like that, and I think to the end of the movie is like 19 minutes or something. So like I think that works, and you feel that, and it's just a neat little mechanism to use to build tension. I think those are a couple check marks on this movie for sure.
Huh? Yeah. The thing is, like, about this movie is that it's like it does, I think, two things exceptionally well. One is the obvious one, which is the action. It's like the action is incredible in this movie. Is. But the other thing is like really, and I've already kind of touched on this, but like really grounding those Ripley in particular, and like the characters, they're not as grounded as in the first one, but he really takes a leaf out of that a page out of that book and makes them, to me, like not as fleshed out as they could have, to Justin's point, but fleshed out enough. Like you get a characterization for most of these Marines, even though none of them are pointing out like, this guy, he's chicken shit, and this is Vasquez, she's stronger than any guy I know, and any of that shit. They don't do any of that. They really just let them speak for themselves. They do a lot of showing and not telling on the front end, which is what Alien did really well, I thought. I don't know. I really appreciate like the slow, like not slow build, but like the ramp up that feels like it's starting at a realistic tone and then going to a fever pitch as time wears on to this unbelievable action sequence situation. Like they just work really well together. It's a great contrast.
Yeah, the characters are good and distinct in this film, especially since there's kind of like a lot of like just no name grunts. They do stand out well.
The Sergeant Apone he was actually a sergeant in the Marine Corps for like several years. So like
I could buy it.
When he wakes up and he's like calling everybody to attention, and I love that he wakes up with a cigar in his hand, ready to roll
immediately.
Yeah, but it sounds very believable when he's barking orders. But I guess he just fucking did that for his whole life. So he's not even really having
the Arlie Ermy route.
Yeah,
and it does feel over the top, and I found myself. Like, it was so weird because I found myself wanting to kind of not cringe at it, but wanting to be like, oh, this is way too over the top, or this is way too silly, or this is too much. But I couldn't help but be endeared by it. The razzing going on between the troops. So, some of the lines are definitely cringe, but it ultimately really kind of pulled me in, and as much as I was trying to kind of fight it with my logic, I did feel like, yeah, this is this troop, and I know a bunch of them are going to die, but I like it. And also, too, I like the kind of twist of that other guy taking charge once the sergeant dies. I'm terrible with the names, but, and him, being competent and setting stuff up and listening to Ripley and stuff like that. Yeah, that all works really well. And it's kind of like refreshing. Like you were saying before, that people aren't just kind of blowing her off and stuff like that anymore, that people are actually following a trail of logic, I thought this, we underestimated the situation, we didn't quite listen to Ripley like we should have, we got fucked, and now we will. And it's like, they were
skeptical but not outwardly hostile towards the very ideas that she was saying, like, okay, well, we'll take it seriously enough, whatever, we'll see how it really is, but whatever. And then when they see the real truth, like, start hitting them in the face, as soon as they see those face huggers in a jar, they're like, okay, this is is maybe for real.
We should listen. We should start.
But as far as like as far as the characterization goes, like I can't help but think about like Space Mutiny and some of these, like there are so many movies that tried to be aliens, like that did exactly what I was describing earlier, which is like, this is Jethro. Jethro used to cow punch back in Iowa. Now he's the best gunman we got. Like all this like dumb
punch
shit.
Cows. Jethro.
Sure.
Cow punching is. Look it up. I don't know. I don't have time for this.
Look it up.
No, I it just don't.
Sounds
do
like
that
my boy
intro
Janus to
bullshit.
me.
This is my boy Professor Janus. He's a
Fuck you.
hairpin trigger away from blowing everybody up all the time.
Looking for my boy Janus, Hugh. Is he around?
My boy huge, Janus.
But yeah, like so, like that's I think what you're like. They're teetering on the edge of doing that. It feels like that because there are so many movies that then went on to just do that in the wake of this movie. I feel like,
Yeah.
fucking Space Mutiny.
This movie is definitely influential, and part of it could be, I'm like, I know those tropes or these, man. That's what I was looking up. Actually, Mad Max 2 came out. One said 1981, one said 1982, so it could be like an Australian thing or something. But yeah, so earlier. But and it's and
it's a universal thing though, like, to me.
It is, but it's interesting because with these two movies, and it makes sense with Cameron coming in, but my mind always goes to like Terminator, where it's a very much the same kind of thing, where the first one's much more chill, horror kind of based. Second one,
chill. I was like, chill. No, I wouldn't call it that, but yes.
Well, yeah. I meant like,
it's a smaller scale.
Smaller scale, yeah. And, kind of more horror based. And then the second one is more blowing the fuck up and effects and shit like that. But I think in this way too, it's been a while. I'd have to go back and watch them. But in my mind, I would say that Terminator 2, I feel like those two did it more successful. And it could be because he didn't have anything to do with Alien. But I feel like that's a more successful sequel.
I think I reined in. Yeah, I think I reined in Cameron. Generally is a little bit better. And maybe that's what we're seeing. Like it's that George Lucas thing, or Red Letter Media so aptly put it, where it's like they don't have anybody there to question him anymore. So just whatever dumb shit he comes up with is just like, oh, great idea. Like I feel like there's a little of that happening with modern day Cameron, because like him being restrained by having to make this a sequel, I think made this a better movie. Like he could have made a movie like this that was a space alien, like that. But like using the good stock he did, he was forced. He was like, it's very easy to like misuse that, or to like want so bad to put your own spin on it that you forsake the original. This does neither of those things. It's a tightrope act, and the man walked it. You got to give him credit for that. And then as far as Terminator goes, he did the same. He did that same thing to himself, like which is just very interesting. But it was like a little bit less restrained in Judgment Day. So I kind of agree that this is, to me, maybe a slightly better movie in terms of like everything except for like central conceit, because I think the central conceit of Judgment Day is pretty damn great. Sort of like the sci-fi-ness of it.
This movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. This action movie,
shit,
7 Academy
action
Awards.
sci-fi.
That's a
horror.
bygone era.
Dude, I know.
Unless one of the characters named fucking Lincoln or some shit, it's not gonna happen these days.
It was nominated for visual effects, best actress, best sound editing, best score, best production design, best film editing, and best sound mixing.
That's the thing too. He does Ripley justice. She's still badass.
Yeah.
She's still so badass, and builds her up more, and actually makes her a badass. But again, in mine, I got a little bit more of the human aspect, which she was in the first one. She's especially going after the cat and stuff like that. But in this one, where they're like, your daughter, she's gone, and like feeling that, and then her like being so taken with Newt, which I guess that's kind of another thing that he kind of takes from the first one, because she's all about that cat in the first. She's not leaving the cat behind, but
sure.
But he does her justice. And she is still a badass character, and like one of the absolute best, and icon now in horror. And he didn't fuck that up. We've seen it happen a lot these days with
revivals. I'll tell you this, man. Like somebody,
she got
I don't remember who it was. Well, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was, I don't know. But somebody brought to my mind the idea of Ripley as like absolutely the most effective scream queen, and I have a hard time finding any argument against that.
Yeah.
And then both of, like, at least in these first two movies, I haven't seen 3 myself, or really any of them besides the Versus and that one post Prometheus movie, whatever that was we reviewed.
Wow.
But
Well, we'll get there. We'll get through all of
the
them.
ones
Don't
I've
you
seen
worry.
these movies with Ripley, and I
Alien
think that like
Rectum.
she's pretty fucking unimpeachably the most cool-headed, badass, successful final girl you're gonna find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Or
Yeah.
final character, even like, and like she's like you were saying earlier, Rob. Like they could have easily made this a romance movie. They made one line that was just like an offhanded joke about how it's not a romance, it's a
Yeah.
survival.
We're not
And I love
engaged.
that. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? We're not going to do this. This is not what this is about.
Yeah.
This is about like survival and camaraderie. And it's about the daughter, maybe a little bit with Newt, but beyond that, like you don't need more than that. You've got your emotional connection. That is something that like every studio exec wants to cram into every sequel,
Yes.
every movie to make goddamn sure that it's appealing to women who apparently only care about the love story. That's the common logic of the
Yeah.
era.
Where's the Ben
they would've-
Tramer in this hair film? Gotta have one.
Yeah, like we don't need it. You don't fucking need it. She is
Yeah.
badass enough, and like she's also not completely unimpeachable. Like she I don't know, like she's not a character that I feel like is like perfect at everything, but she does everything really smart. Like I can't think of what she does that's wrong, but it feels like she's still kind of a flawed character. She doesn't feel like too perfect, even though I can't think of a great example of her fucking up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feels like a real person. Yeah.
She feels like a real person that's capable.
I know we could go on and on, but we do need to land this here plane, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
You got anything else to add? Of course, do so in our wrap up here. Let's go and rate Aliens out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel?
So some of my critiques turns out that they did what I suggested. This movie's too long. Should have cut 20 minutes out of it. Well, they did. So, you know, and the parts that I mentioned, they cut. So, I don't know. Even at 217, yeah, that's probably more reasonable. Maybe still a little bit there. I was thinking probably a clean 2 hours. I think they could have done it, but it's not necessary. I think I tend to lean a little more on the negative on this film, which is definitely in the minority because I generally prefer Alien. I prefer the smaller scale. I think that really did some amazing stuff in building up this world and setting up the atmosphere. That's one thing that I think this movie kind of lacks is a general atmosphere. They do build some pretty good tension with that device and they don't know where they are and some of the action scenes and stuff like that, but I don't think they quite are able to nail the atmosphere. One thing also too is the way that Cameron does these kind of things. I'm sure back in the day it blew people's nuts off, but I think this one doesn't hold up as well visually because of some of the dated effects that he used. Some of like the look at the spaceship from further away and like stuff like that. Now he kills it with the aliens. Like those still look fantastic. The Queen looks fantastic. It's mostly just some of those kind of like space scenes, I guess, that looked kind of wonky to me, that like kind of dated. And it seems like he tries to infuse a little bit more technology than they did in the first one. And of course, that just doesn't hold up as well. But ultimately, I really love the characters in this. Fucking hips don't lie, Paxton. He's got some hilarious one-liners. So they do add the levity in there while it still kind of makes sense to add some levity in there. You know, you got all these different soldiers. They got different kind of personalities. And then there's a little bit of endearingness with Newt, and you get to see a different kind of side of Ripley, but it doesn't like feel forced or unnatural to that character. That character is done justice. Badass final scene with the Queen. Just some really great stuff going on here. So I didn't mean to nitpick it too much. But I think define my score a little bit too, because I was prepared to come in today. I'm going to come in at a 4, and I noticed some people that's like quite low for. I do think this is a classic film, but I do think it borrows heavily off the first one. I think some of it's like best elements really still just come from that first movie. And some of that's a positive too, to make a good sequel. But I just don't hold this in the same regard as I do Alien, but it's still damn good and a lot of fun to watch, and nailed a lot of aspects. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. Bob, out of 5, where are you going to put Aliens?
Yo. Yeah, to your point, I think the biggest flaw of this movie is that it has to live in the shadow of Alien, you know? It's
Mostly.
They are, I mean, kind of a different genre. This is more of an action movie. Alien is more of like a horror suspense movie, but I think like Alien is just, it's sort of like, if you watch it and open yourself up to it, you can peel back so many fucking layers in that movie, and it really transcends whatever genre it is. It doesn't really matter what the genre is. There's just so much to think about and chew on. This does not transcend its genre whatsoever. It just is an action movie. It's a good one. I think it's a very good, entertaining action movie, but like comparing it to the original, which I know is unfair to do, it just sort of like pales in comparison. I do think there's so many more mistakes that James Cameron could have made. He could have really fucked this movie up quite a bit, and it would have been easy to do. But I think he did restrain himself quite a lot. Definitely had a lot of love for the character of Ripley, and I think that does come through. I think if it didn't, Sigourney Weaver probably would have told him to take a fucking hike. No unnecessarily love story, which is fantastic. The mother-daughter relationship and parallel between Ripley and the Queen, I think, does add a little bit of like heft to the theme of the movie here. A lot of great tension building for sure. A lot of great action sequences. The alien designs and the Queen designs are fantastic, but there are certain situations where like I think there's one specifically where there's an alien like running down a hallway, but the way they shot it is like its feet and hands like never, it seems to like never really make contact with anything. Like it's just kind of I mean, it's all wires, you know, but you can kind of see the wires. It just feels a little like maybe they should have done that one more time or something. I don't know.
I don't remember that one.
Burke is such he of all the motherfuckers, he's the motherfuckest. Like that dude is such a bad guy, like almost to like a comedic level, but it doesn't bother me too much. I think it works in context of this movie pretty well. It feels long in the tooth for sure. For me personally, I like the camaraderie that we get between the Marines and stuff. Yeah, I think a 4 is fair, Juice. I think that's fair for this. I'm gonna piggyback with a 4 out of 5.
All right.
On Aliens here. Randy, how do you feel?
Well, you kind of nailed something that I've been chewing on, which is the idea that Alien has a lot more to chew on. That's definitely true. And like this movie, it plays a little bit with the idea of like, you know, motherhood and protectiveness and species, but it doesn't like dwell on those things at all. It doesn't invite you to think further about them, really. You kind of just have to dig in on your own. And Alien did do that. So I give absolute like credit to that point. I think that's absolutely true. And more than that, like also like Justin said, like I just have a personal bias towards movies that do leave you with a little bit more to chew on, and also with smaller scale films. Like I'm more a horror guy than an action guy. What can I say? So when I see this movie, I recognize it as being like the amazing achievement in action horror that it is. But it is by far more horror to me or action than it is horror. It doesn't provide as much breathing room for that atmospheric tension that I loved in the first one, that carried me through that first one. I don't have any problems with the effects. I didn't see that thing you're talking about, Bob, so I didn't have a problem with that. I do think that the relationships are easy to understand and good, and they're tropey, but they're tropey because they are things that work when they're done well, and they're done well here, so they work. Like Newt works for me. Fucking.
I don't think she's of age.
His
Randy.
name.
She can't have a job.
Whoa.
Oh, don't be crass. Okay. All right.
She's like 11. She can't hold down a job. That's not crass.
She's not a working girl, Bob? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. God damn it. Can't tell.
Respond!
Yes. So
I'm quietly judging you.
So I think that overall, this movie to me is not as good as Alien. If in the prerequisite comparison for my tastes, it doesn't quite offer the same amount to chew on, and but I still love it. I still think it's really fucking great. I think I could agree that it's a little long. I just don't know what to trim. So like it seems like everything that I got in my theatrical cut was valid and worthwhile. Ultimately, it just seemed like it was long. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of dings against this movie, is I guess what I'm getting at. I think that it's a pretty fucking great movie. I think it's just not quite my particular taste. It's not as much my personal taste as Alien was, I should say. So I'm going to go with a 4.5. I don't have a lot of like negatives for this thing. And I gave Alien, I looked it up. I gave it a 5, which is apt. And I think a 4.5 is a nice, just gradual step down for what I think is a great fucking movie with just a little bit less for me personally in it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So we do have a voicemail from your boy Hydraberg, and something that we've been doing this year. If you do get a U pick from us, we encourage you to send an email or a voicemail with your own rating and review. So let's go ahead and hear what Hydraberg has to say about Aliens.
What up, boys? It's your boy Hydraberg. This week you're covering my Patreon pick, 1986's Aliens. To me, it's a classic. It's a straight banger. So I've always just thought Ripley was one of the best final girls you'll ever see. She's just such a strong female lead, highly capable and smart, like a true survivor and a model example of like how strong-willed a woman can be when her back's to the wall, especially when protecting her young. She's never the damsel. The film just solidifies how badass she really is and why she's a Hall of Famer in the Final Girls. I will say, as far as this movie goes, I prefer the extended cut of this film. It's just, for me, it's got more moments with Newt's family and how the aliens got into the colony in the first place, as well as more moments with Ripley and the Marines holding off the xenomorphs with the sentry guns. That scene's always badass to me. It fleshes out the story a little bit better, in my opinion. I really like seeing Ripley deal with her daughter growing up without her and the pain of that. Not knowing her all her life, and you kind of understand her attachment more to Newt later on in the film and why she's so like gung-ho and saving Newt no matter what, because that's like her, that's her daughter in a sense. That said, whatever version you watch, this is still going to be an iconic badass movie. To me, it's a perfect action sequel to a perfect horror film. All the while, it just blends horror and action quite well. It's one of my favorite sci-fi / action films ever made. From the practical effects to its pacing, the kick-ass Space Marines, Hicks, Vasquez, Hudson, as well as Bishop, the synthetic. They're just all great characters. Last but not least, it's got some amazing quotable dialogue. Some great lines like, "Hey, Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?" "No, have you?" Guess she don't like the cornbread either. Game over, man. Game over. R.I.P. to Bill Paxton. And the best line, in my opinion, is "Get away from her, you bitch." It's also got a stellar ending with Bishop just like getting torn apart and Ripley and the Queen's final fight. I just love it. Like, there's a moment, just like the original Aliens, where you think everything's cool, they got away, and then boom, there's that last minute stinger. And it just leads to like an iconic scene that just like I feel goes down in film history. And just for me, like even with this film's production woes, and there are a good amount, I hope you touch on them in trivia. There's a documentary actually coming out from the creators of what was it, that 3-hour 80s doc, The Edge of Darkness or whatever, In Search of Darkness. They're creating an Aliens documentary, and that's actually why I picked this film, because I saw a trailer for that. And it was right around when I got my U pick, and I was just like, man, what if...
Changing.
Sorry, boys, I blabbed on a little too long, and I got cut off. Hopefully this makes it into the show stuff. So, yeah, just, even with the production woes, this film still managed just all to come all together into what is undoubtedly, to me, a 5 out of 5. So, yeah, Aliens fucks. So keep chilling. All right, guys? Thanks.
Nice.
All right.
That's fair.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think we're kind of in the minority of just general audiences, people praise the shit out of this movie.
This is just more of a crowd pleaser of a movie. And
it's easier to see how it's definitely more accessible for sure. Yeah, it's definitely more accessible.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that he prefers the extended cut. Maybe I should go back and check that out. Damn, yeah, perfect score, 5 out of 5 from your boy Hydraberg. Thanks for picking this week's flick, man. We really do appreciate the support. Our aggregate score for Aliens is going to be a 4.2. Let's go ahead and jump over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Jump over into Rotten Tomatoes and see what the critics and users think about Aliens.
Certified fresh to death.
Dude, that game over bump is useful at any time.
Here to stay.
Yeah.
It's an evergreen bump. Anyway, this is our Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to give these gentlemen the chance to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is for both critics and users on RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to start, as we always do, with the critic scores. There are 81 critic scores to count from here. Why don't we start with Bob today? Bob, what do you think those 81 critics, where do you think they fall on this spectrum, 0 to 100% positive?
This has got to be crazy high, I would think. I'm going to go with a 90, please.
What?
90.
You said 90.
90? Okay.
Yeah.
Juice?
This one's tough. How many critic scores were there?
81.
80. Well, that's not as high as I thought. People like love the shit out of this movie. Like love it. And James Cameron, pulls a lot of weight. 90's high though. I think I'm gonna risk it, and I know we don't like to do it, but I'm gonna go. No, I'll go 90. Well, how could we tie? I'll go 92. Maybe it's
92. All right. Well, Juice, that was a salient choice. It's a 98% positive. There are only 2 negative reviews in that batch, for the record.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a 8. Soju.
There you go. Moving on to the audience score. Wow. Okay. All right. Show grief your tits. Let's go. Audience score, 94%. Oh my God.
Randy,
hold on a second. I'm on the wrong page suddenly. Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Rotten Tomatoes score for audience, 250,000 plus ratings.
Damn.
Whoa.
So I'm going to start with Juice this time. Juice, where do you think those 250,000 ratings landed?
I think the numbers got to bring it down some because that's just so many reviews, but it can't go down too low. I'll dip it just under the 90 mark with an 89.
89 percentile. Bob, how about you?
Oh, fuck. Man, I'll do a 91, please.
91
Maybe
percentile.
we'll
Bob!
Oh,
You got you a win there. It's a 94%.
nice.
94% positive. And if the keen listeners will notice that I said 94% out loud for some reason that I do not know before revealing that. Like as I was
Really?
I was trying to read the 200 that I wasn't on the wrong page. I read the wrong fucking number out loud like an idiot and almost ruined the game.
We didn't even pay attention.
Thank God you don't pay attention to me. Or
I
else you
never
would
listen
listened
to
to
you.
either of you ever.
Thanks, guys. It's the
I just
best.
wait until there's a small moment of silence and then just force my voice in. That's all I do.
I have things to
All
say.
right, here's the critics. Are you done talking? All right, here we go. Critics' consensus. While Alien was a marvel of slow building atmospheric tension, Aliens packs a much more visceral punch and features a typically strong performance from Sigourney Weaver. That's all very valid, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's jump down to the negative scores that are very few in number. Like I said, there's only 2 on here from the critics, and I'll just read them off. They're usually funny. I don't think these are quite as funny. The moment the action is situated in Acheron, everything is simplified and loses its mystery. Full review in Spanish. So something went wrong there.
Okay.
Negative review from Spain. And then Gene Siskel wrote this. Count me out of the fan club for this one. Good reasoning, Gene. Appreciate it.
What a scoundrel.
I don't know. It just doesn't really like that. That's such a weird quote to pull. That's more of like the sign off than it is like
a thought
saying anything. Yeah, it's just it's not a comment on anything. I'm sure that his full review had some thoughts. I wish we had those written up here instead, but whatever. I'm not in control of the Rotten Tomatoes, and I never will be because I read them out loud in advance of the game. Here is the end of your Rotten Tomatoes segment. Bye.
Fantastic. All right, I got a pile of trivia. Let's get into it.
It's totally time for trivia.
Oh my God, there's so much trivia. Let's do this, boys. Yeah, your boy Lance Henriksen had privately pledged to quit acting if this part didn't work out for him. After years of just picking up random journeyman roles, it proved to be one of his most successful films yet. So, thank you, Aliens, for continuing Lance Henriksen's career.
There you go.
Lance is man, dude. We would have no Ed Harley.
That would fucking suck.
That would fucking suck.
Fucking hot. Your boy James Cameron faced a big problem trying to win the confidence and respect of the British crew, many of whom had worked on Alien 1979 and were fiercely loyal to Ridley Scott. In order to try and to convince them that he had some talent and skills for the job, he arranged a screening for The Terminator for the crew to watch. Nobody showed up.
What a weird flex, too. Come watch my movie,
dude.
Dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's like, I know you guys don't trust me, but come and look at my work, and then you'll believe it.
Like, nah.
I mean,
what you need to do is pick out the biggest, toughest guy in the room on the first day.
Whip their
that key grip's asking for it.
Get in their booty hole. Yeah, this
and
definitely.
You need to beg them to respect you.
Please respect me.
Pay them
Please
off.
clap. Please clap
with your Terminator money. This production was very troubled for sure. Sigourney Weaver's Best Actress Academy Award nomination for this movie was the first ever for an actress in a role in an action sci-fi movie ever. So that's tight.
Cool.
The alien nest was kept intact after filming. It was later used as the Access Chemicals set for The Batman from 1989.
Whoa, there you go.
That's a storied set.
Yeah, no shit. So unlike American studios, where crews were generally hired by the production, Pinewood Studios, where this was filmed, came with its own indentured crew, who weren't used to working 12-hour days, which is an average shooting day in the USA. Bill Paxton later said that the British film crew drove everyone nuts with their, quote, indentured work ethics, literally stopping filming in the middle of complicated scenes just so they could have tea, go to the pub, or finish up early. Michael Bain made fun of the British crew in the audio commentary by saying they, quote, weren't used to working. So, damn.
Fucking tea.
Goddamn tea sipping so's and so's.
Ain't used to working.
Yeah.
You ain't used to a good, honest day's work. 12 hours straight. That's how we do it.
You live to work.
They had to stop for some sweet tea, huh? Had to get themselves
Always
some
asking
sweet
for breastfeeding breaks and all kinds of nonsense.
Breastfeeding breaks. After the long and difficult shoot, Cameron addressed the crew by saying one thing kept him going through it all, quote, the certain knowledge that one day I would drive out of Pinewood and never come back, and that you sorry bastards would still be here.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Damn.
Oh, boys, it's time for a breastfeeding break. I gotta stop.
Your boy's thirsty, okay?
I'm extra thirsty tonight, boys.
Pop that nip, honey.
One of the alien eggs used
Thirsty
in the film,
works double on that.
Yes.
Not sentence.
One of the alien eggs used in this film is now exhibited in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. Go steal that, Randy. Go just take it.
Okay.
Just take it.
Got it.
You got it.
I'm on it.
You're very, mysterious.
Guys, I'm very light on my feet and very
nimble.
Yeah. I'm like the world's greatest cat burglar. I don't know if I've ever shared that with you.
True. I didn't know that about you. Randy the cat.
My secret is I offer jujubes to all the guards. They always accept.
Hey, want to go get some jujubes with me?
How could you turn it down?
They could live
Nobody
off those things.
Dude, if somebody brought me some free jujubes, I'd throw them bitches in the trash.
Take it as a personal insult.
Why would you insult me
Yeah.
with this offering of shit?
Bring me some good candy.
So there was talk of bringing Swiss artist H.R. Geiger back for the second movie to do more design work, but James Cameron decided against it as Geiger was still working on Poltergeist, Deuce, and Cameron had already hired Ron Cobb and Sid Mead for the futuristic buildings and crafts. Furthermore, there was only one major creature design to be done, that of the alien queen, of which Cameron had already made some droll rings. Cameron later admitted that he considered asking Geiger, but feared that the eccentric artist would be overwhelming and difficult to work with. Geiger later expressed some disappointment to Cameron about not being asked back, but still called the film's design and execution, quote, beautifully done. All right.
It's
Not in the file.
It is not in the file.
It's not in the file. This movie takes place in the year 2179. That's derived by a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to get into. Just take that as fact.
Great.
Most of
they do mention they did mention how many years she was in space, and that's fine.
Maths. Most
Somebody
of the
mathed
shots
it.
where it appears the aliens are crawling quickly through tunnels or air ducts were filmed using a vertical shaft with the camera at the bottom and the alien actor lowered headfirst on a cable.
No.
I think you can definitely
That makes sense.
see some of that happen.
So they have to move their arms backwards like this?
No, they're
Speak
coming,
English,
they're
Doc.
coming
We ain't
down. So
scientists.
they just pretend
Oh,
to crawl.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
I gotcha.
Tom Cruising down the shaft.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're Scientologing down the shaft.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All of the cast who were to play the Marines, with the exception of Michael Bain, who replaced James Remar 1 week into filming, were trained by the SAS, which is the Special Air Service, Britain's Elite Special Operations Unit, and Sergeant Al Matthews, who was later hired to play Sergeant Apone in this movie for 2 weeks before filming. So they got like a basic 2-week boot camp, legit.
Cool.
That's dope.
We need to do a straight chilling boot camp.
What would that look like?
Dude,
And a survival course.
I don't know what it would look like if we added discipline to the mix here. It'd just really throw things off, I think.
Get a chance to flex these guns. Whoa.
You call that a cocktail? No! You call that a movie review? You piece of shit! You fucking idiot!
You add bitters. You add bitters right now.
I didn't know we were on Bob's OnlyFans. Damn.
You gotta pay up. Lance Henriksen was almost denied entry into the United Kingdom when he arrived for filming. He had been rehearsing Bishop's knife trick in the USA with several different types of knives since he didn't know which one James Cameron would want to use for filming. When he arrived in London, he had just carelessly brought all the knives with him in his luggage, and the customs official was quite alarmed at what he saw.
Oh my God.
So I see you've carried an assortment of knives into our country. Any thoughts on that?
Sir.
Business or pleasure, sir?
Dude, that was back in the 80s when that shit could fly. Apparently it did.
Reminds me of a time that is past.
Quick on
A
the
simpler time, yes.
Simpler time.
This is the last bit I have here. The mechanism used to make the face huggers thrash about in the stasis tubes in the science lab came from one of the flying piranhas in one of James Cameron's earlier movies, Piranha 2, The Spawning from 1981. It took 9 people to make the face hugger work, 1 person for each leg and 1 for the tail.
All right.
There you go. That is trivia.
Go.
Boys, you know what time it is? It's time to find the Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the
Juice, what is a Cooter and why is it Burke?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a Cooter in this film?
Oh
Burke.
my yes.
Oh my yes, come with me.
Paul Reiser.
Okay. Yes. Manipulation, checkaroni.
Oh yeah,
All
Yes.
manipulation. That's his signature move.
All of the nipsulation. He's got them all.
Yes. Smug arrogance.
I think quietly,
so.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, quietly.
They're
When
pretty
you plan
fucking
to
arrogant,
kill
too.
everyone that's
I'm
planning
gonna kill all these Marines that saved my life.
Yeah.
That seems like
or
maybe
some money.
maybe you're a little maybe you think you're a little important, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Overall patheticness. He's kind of Weasley, right?
He
He's
is.
like
Absolutely.
Weasley.
Anyone who's ready to sacrifice, I mean, anybody, but
A
especially
child,
an
yeah.
innocent child, yeah, like that's fucking pathetic.
Yeah. Just to save your own
she's a
skin.
fancy flapjack.
Not even trying to. Damn, you worthless
Yeah.
piece of shit.
I want to also point out, like, this is like a sort of a ghost 6th point for Cooterdom, maybe. And it's just how much you want this guy to eat shit and die. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's just
the
general
Schadenfreude level of
feeling,
watching
yeah.
him get his is just
Yeah.
delicious shit.
It's my favorite shit to consume.
Take that bump right now. Yeah, so looking at attire, I don't think so, right?
No,
He's wearing his Sears catalog vest. That's about it.
he attended the
And-
Dillard's Dick Down of 1986. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
He went on the retreat in the local park.
He got the shirt.
historic Dillard's Stick Down of 19.
So many babies
It was
birthed
a-
that night.
It was a dickin' for the ages, let me tell you.
Jesus Christ.
That's our next shirt coming out.
It's a dickin' for the ages. Great Dillard's Dick Down is our next shirt.
I attended the Great Dillard's Dick Down in 1986, and all I got was this dumb shirt.
It's like a family. It's like a shitty family reunion shirt. Oh no, but this is not even a joke from this episode. What the fuck are we doing?
It's like 2 episodes.
People don't know what the
ago.
fuck we're talking about.
Check out our Chopping Mall
2
episode.
episodes ago.
Shopping mall episode.
Yeah.
Yes, few episodes back.
So yeah, I don't think he hit sexual deviance.
No, I don't think so.
No,
really, he
nothing
just
really
hits the
sexual
3.
happens in this movie except for the creatures being sexually inspired.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little like taunting going on between the Marines, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah. I would say like sexism, maybe.
Yeah.
Vasquez slightly, but that's like just she can handle it. Like she's ready for that shit. I don't see any sickness.
So
but
3
that's
out
a
of
Cooter,
5,
baby.
definitely a
3 out of
strong
5
three.
is good enough. Yeah.
Strong.
I
That's
don't
a
think
firm
there's
3.
I don't think there's really anybody else that stands out to me.
No, I agree.
Same here.
Maybe you couldn't say like I don't know. I think he's just kind of like shitty at his job, which is the
Bill Paxton.
No. No, I was thinking of the guy.
Oh
shit! He's in
that-
charge of the mission.
the military
Yeah,
mission.
gets
or
knocked out.
whatever. He's
the
like,
guy who's basically
has no experience.
Yeah, he just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
just
I
kind of
think that's all.
pathetic.
Definitely
Yeah,
pathetic.
he hits that.
I don't
note,
think
but
he's like
think it's-
trying to get anybody or anything. He just
No,
kind of
no.
sucks.
He's
Yeah.
just not good at his job, and hasn't seen as much combat, so it makes sense.
Fucking
Yeah.
greenhorn.
See it
Yeah.
every day.
Every
See
goddamn
it.
day.
I see green horns every single day.
Burke.
Yeah.
We got him. Burke, for sure.
Got him. We got him. Lock him
Put
up.
him in lockup.
We're running a tad bit late, so let's skip what we've been watching this week, but we do have a couple voicemails, so let's hit up some Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you're listening and would like to call in and leave us a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have 2 voicemails this week. First up, we're going to hear from our good pal, Janus, Hugh. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, Hugh calling. I was a little reluctant to call back in. The last time I called, Soju called me a legend. That's way too much pressure. But anyway, I also have to apologize to Randy. I forgot to mention that one of the reasons I chose Straight Chillin' podcast to listen to was because of his artwork. I assume it was his artwork. That's why I picked it to listen to. I've had a run of bad movies lately. I started out, I watched The Prophecy. It's kind of a hit or miss movie. If I can paraphrase Soju, it's got so many angels, it's almost just a swerve. Then I watched What Josiah Saw. I don't know what went on in that movie. I don't know what Josiah saw. I don't know who Josiah was. I have no idea what happened there. And then I moved on to the Halloween trilogy, 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. And I don't even know what to say about that. And then I watched Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Made it about 20 minutes into that, and that was over. But I got to hand it to the Straight Chillin' crew. They pulled me from the abyss. Everybody knows I love the rants. And Randy, I heard his rant on Underworld, his rant on Winchester, and his rant on Happy Death Day to You. Excellent. And then Soju, his rant on Halloween Ends was good. And then on one of the podcasts, he mentioned that he wanted his furry name to be Spruce Willis. That just cracked me up. And then we come to Bob. Andy Warhol's Blood for Dracula rant was epic. And then his rant for Halloween Ends was a rant to end all rants. I think Bob stared too long into Michael's eyes, and he just went off. But anyway, that's about all I got. Not sure I lived up to legend status, but that's it. Keep up the good work. Keep on chilling.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling, Hugh. No pressure whatsoever, but no matter what you do, you're going to be a legend around these parts.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. My boy Janus is going through all the freaking catalogs, dude. Winchester, that was back in the day.
Deep pull, yeah.
Dude, yeah. I'm always happy to receive a compliment, but when they're centered around me ineloquently, like blabbering about how much I hate something, it leaves a certain aftertaste hearing that, I gotta say.
Yeah.
He also
I am very pleased that the design.
Yeah.
Very happy to accept that. Thank you for both compliments, really. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it sounds like you've been having a pretty rough go at it. Treat yourself, dude. Watch a good ass movie.
Good.
Watch Aliens. Hell, yeah.
Aliens.
Watch Alien and Aliens. If you haven't seen those, please do yourself the favor.
There you go. Oh yeah, the Monsters and the trilogy and whoa.
That is a nice
prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy. Yeah,
I suck your soul.
So that's the only thing I can remember about the prophecy.
I remember there was some that dude who was like having some old girl sit on his lap. There was some troubling.
There is some troubling issues in that film.
Yeah, treat yourself.
Open up your mouth. I'm gonna give you a mint. Mint in your mouth. Open it up. Open a wide.
Some
wide.
Yeah, you just morphed into Borat in front of our very eyes.
Christopher Borat, everybody's favorite actor. Yeah, good to hear from you, dude. Take care. Yeah, watch some good movies, man. Treat yourself. You've definitely earned it. Fucking hell. Next up, we are going to hear from our boy Steve. Let's hear what Steve has to say.
Hey, it is your GOPS Good old pal Steve. Good old pal Gio. Yeah. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm coming to you live through my car's Bluetooth, so I hope this sounds okay. But short and sweet voicemail this week. And I appreciate the kind words for my back getting better. Thank you guys very much. That's very nice to hear. Appreciate it. So, short and sweet. I just listened to the Chopping Mall episode, and a little background. There is a hockey player named Ilya Sorokin, a Russian goalie. And during the episode, someone dropped the Ivy Strokin soundbite. So I had that on the brain, and I was talking to a buddy that I play fantasy hockey with, and I meant to say I added Ilya Sorokin this week, but because of what was going on in my head, I said I added Ivy Strokin instead of Ilya Sorokin. Some confusion on his part, needless to say, but I explained, and he's a degenerate just like I am, so we had a pretty good chuckle. Just thought you guys might get a kick out of that, so if you're ever watching the Islanders, you can watch, or maybe it's the Capitals. Shit, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. You can watch Ivy Strokin 10 net. Okay. See you guys. Have a good Thanksgiving. Bye.
Dude, that's great. I love the idea that we're infecting people's minds with potty humor that they then carry out into the world.
Can't
what a
restrain
lovely
themselves
legacy.
from fucking saying it. That's fantastic.
We're living in your brains.
I'll quote some of the bumps sometimes. I'll say it's a delight to the senses, isn't it, my friends? Which is really just another show.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
Come with me.
Like nothing I ever smelt before in my life.
There's so many. There's just so many.
They're all from the Bigfoot fucking documentary.
We're just
That's what we're covering for 500. That's what we're doing for 500. We're doing it at the biggest theater we can find. 1,000 seats.
Hours of
dude. Yes.
1,000 seat big theater. We're hosting Bigfoot Monster Mystery.
Bigfoot is going to be our guest.
We're flying in Mr. Jabroni or whatever that guy's name is.
Dude, holy shit. He's going to make us all sweaters.
We're going to all fly out to Skookum Lake and see if we smell anything.
We need some Bigfoot sweaters. Who makes sweaters out there? Call it.
The big feet on them. Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Anyway, this is also referencing another episode, which is the Bigfoot Monster Mystery.
Which is 3 years old.
Yeah.
At this point.
Watch it and listen to our review. You won't regret it. Thanks for calling in and sharing that, Steve. That's fucking hilarious. You love hockey. I bet your boy didn't know you loved it quite that much. He'd be stroking.
I'll tell you who I got. I got Happy Stroking.
Hell yeah.
Up top.
Yeah, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Thanks for checking in with us. Always good to hear from you. Again, if you guys are listening, would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. General Bangs, you got any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
Well, first, have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
It's coming up tomorrow when this drops, I guess.
I think that we should ask if anybody has used straight chilling in jokes in the wild and how were they received.
I like that.
And that includes bumps. That includes anything, really.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm deadly curious. And what's your preference? Alien or aliens? What you guys think about that?
We're not
What's best?
hosting an intergalactic kegger here.
I mean,
Have you ever said 69 dudes in a robot voice?
Do you ever refer to breasts as yabos out in the wild?
I'll bet there's some yabo fiends out there dropping.
Got to. Do you ever use yabos in bed in intimate time?
Oh, your yabos are so hot.
Have you ever requested a yabo fuck?
Honey, I need a yabo job tonight.
Oh, it's break time. Time for a yabos feeding. break.
Yabos feeding. Got to feed the Yabos. Can't feed them after
They're
midnight.
so hungry. What the fuck?
What has happened? What has happened here?
Call in and let us
Call in and talk about whatever the fuck we just said.
Go home and feed the old Yabos, you know.
I gotta let them outside. They might be out of water.
Get the juice now.
Gotta let them breathe, you know.
Gotta water
Gotta
the
get the
Yabos.
juice now.
Get the juice now. Yeah, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Eat some turkey, and don't forget, it might not be cranberry sauce. You got to watch out for that shit. Until we're doing another show next week. I should probably tell everybody what we're watching. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. We're tackling another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by your boy Chris. The movie is AVP.
Oh
Alien vs.
shit!
Predator.
Doubling down. Wow. That doesn't happen often.
No, just kind of worked out.
I sense a diminishing of returns. Oh.
No. Wow. We might be getting. Maybe this is the next franchise we need to knock off our list.
I mean, we're getting there. I mean,
We're like
stroke it right
four
off.
deep.
I've been
4 deep,
stroking.
I think.
Yeah, this will be 4.
Have we covered Prometheus?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we got 3, 4, and Prometheus. We got to do,
yes.
and then another verses.
Yes.
Okay,
That's a lot of.
We'll
Yes.
get there.
So-
That's a lot of.
xenomorph.
Yeah, when you're sitting around with your family on Thanksgiving Day, slamming turkey and eating pumpkin pie, why don't you guys throw on AVP, the classic Thanksgiving film? Get ready for
yeah.
that.
It's the perfect film to munch on grindage too.
Too much on the grindage too. So yeah, until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, probably for a little while longer. You can follow us on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Send us an email at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join in on our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Happy motherfucking Thanksgiving, everybody, and until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Mostly.